The aim of the Digital Intermediaries project is to look at the digital infrastructures that underpin a number of forms of peer-to-peer or alternative financial services that are currently becoming more prolific in the UK economy.
The Digital Intermediaries project was an exciting opportunity for us as researchers to learn more about how technology and finance are shaping each other in daily life in the UK these days. But it's always been more than that. Its goals have always been more than just meeting academic curiosity. What we're producing now that will be available freely on our website is a set of reports for policymakers, for entrepreneurs, for companies who are already in either the financial or technology fields who might be looking for answers to the same set of questions that we've been asking, that others have been asking in the UK for a while now. How can we use new technology to create financial tools, financial products, financial systems that are easy to use, trustworthy, and speak to what people need and want with respect to their money?
What we're specifically interested in is how the technologies operate and support these businesses. And then we can think about how to redesign the sorts of things that those technologies do to better support these businesses' activities. Now that has involved us going to explore the ways that this is done in two organisations, the first of which is the Bristol Pound and the second of which is Zopa Limited. Now the Bristol Pound is an alternative currency and is used in Bristol as a means of paying for goods that are bought and made locally in Bristol. Zopa, on the other hand, is a peer-to-peer lending platform that allows lenders to make their money available to borrowers. You might say this is in a similar way to a bank. The difference here is that Zopa acts as an intermediary. We've been working with these two organisations to find out how they operate, how their customers think that they operate. And to do so, we've been doing interviews with the organisations themselves and their customers, and we've been seeing how they actually use the technologies to perform the operations that they do, the sorts of troubles that they have, and the sorts of ways that they work around those troubles.
We're finding that there are a number of factors that go into trust, and we're able to break those down into things like regulation. People really wanted to know that their financial products and the companies that were issuing them were regulated and had oversight. We also found that companies wanted that. Zopa was adamant about pursuing regulatory oversight because they wanted to build that sense of trust with their customers. And while people are willing to work with a website, willing to work with SMS technologies, being able to go past that to something older and more comfortable like a phone really made a big difference for people. So there's a technological element to trust as well that has to be very carefully managed with businesses who are asking for your money in a new technological environment.
We've been doing a number of analyses of that material. So that's quantitative and qualitative pieces of research to try to identify what these issues are. And that's culminated in a number of design workshops in which we've worked with those organisations to try to develop new forms of infrastructure that might better support the activities that they currently do, but also think of what they might be doing in the future with new technologies coming, such as extensions to mobile, tangible computing, the ubiquitous computings that are beginning to saturate the environments around us, and how those sorts of technologies might change the ways that people do things. How do people interact with technology, and how people might wish to do things differently as new technologies and new systems and structures become available to them. The culmination of the project has been to produce what we've called a digital intermediary exchange toolkit, in which we identify a number of factors that any organisations who are looking to enter the field of alternative financial services might wish to take account of. Now, this isn't a prescriptive set of things that they must do, but things that they should be orienting to as they go about designing or thinking about the digital infrastructures that will underpin these existing and emerging businesses. Now, there are a range of different sorts of things that follow from the architectural issues to the organisational and social that they should be considering. And I'll pick up on a couple of those. And the first of which you should be thinking about, one that springs to mind immediately, is the user interface to this software. This is the first piece of visibility that most digital organisations will have. It is their shop front, their store window into their services. If users do not understand how these things operate, they will probably not understand these organisations, the services they provide, and may well end up not trusting these things. So there are a number of interdependencies between these factors. Let's take the example of the Bristol pound. The Bristol pound has a number of interfaces into its computer systems. However, the way that payments are made is through text or SMS messages. This is the simplest form of interface, but usefully to the everyday users of these systems as they're making payments, these are technologies that they are very used to. They're also able to run on legacy technologies. It does not matter how modern your smartphone is, your phone will probably operate on these principles. So a message is constructed and sent. You can see as you are paying how much you've entered and who you're sending it to. The message is sent and the receipt of the message arrives as an SMS both on the trader's phone telling them they've been paid and on your phone telling you that you have made the payment, and hopefully the transaction will carry on straightforwardly. Of course, there are problems in these systems, and it's really interesting to see how people recover from failures in the network. But these sorts of trust-based issues can be accommodated as people deal with matters in a social way. These are local traders. People understand, know them, and probably see the traders on an everyday basis. So these things can be resolved in different sorts of ways. There are other issues to consider as well. Another of those issues is transparency. If you are able to see through the technology the way that the business operates, you are much more likely to, again, trust the organisation and understand what is going on as you make transactions. So you are less likely to make duplicate transactions or feel that you have to go back and recover as problems potentially might emerge. So you will understand the nature of those problems. What's fascinating to see is that the Bristol pound's technologies themselves are not terribly transparent. As you are using the mobile phone to make your payments, all that you can see is that you've made a payment and that perhaps, if you're lucky, the trader will have received a receipt message. Under normal circumstances, of course, those sorts of things happen. But there are instances where the SMS or text message does not arrive. How then does the user make sense of this? So the system is not wholly transparent. And again, the users must rely on the normal ways that we engage with people to make sense of these things, but they do so in the light of a lack of information. Transparency for Zopa is also something of an issue, and users have had problems with the lack of transparency in seeing how operations are conducted. But this is a deliberate ploy on the part of Zopa. What had happened in the past is that Zopa had provided a huge amount of information on how lenders could make loans to borrowers at the highest rates possible. What this had meant was that some very experienced lenders who were spending a lot of time on the system were being able to pick out the best deals and stopping perhaps less experienced and people with less time on their hands from catching those best loans.
Information is great and a lot of people want to have it available. But when you start pushing it at people and stuffing them with it, by trying to give them the information that you would think they would need to trust you, they trust you less because it looks like just a lot of legalese and a lot of jargon and a lot of fast talk. So managing that flow of technology and information delivery and regulation and communication procedures is a complicated balance to strike. And we're hoping that the work that we're going to be presenting will enable new firms to at least be able to identify some problems and maybe identify routes to solutions without stumbling around for a while, and to be able to get more quickly to a place where they can talk to a customer in a language that the customer understands and provide something that that customer actually wants. And on the other hand, in more general terms, to provide the community in the UK with banking equivalent tools, savings tools, borrowing tools that enable us to meet our needs in a way that maybe some older technologies and older industries haven't been able to do as effectively.